that I'd share some observations. Some of them are obvious. 10 observations. Observation number 1. What we just saw was a stunning election. Stunning. I think few of us, if we had been standing here 18 months ago, would have predicted that Donald Trump would be the 45th President of the United States. And I suspect, I could be wrong, I suspect that very few of us supported Donald Trump 18 months ago. I started out as a Walker guy, and then a Bush guy, and then a Rubio guy, and eventually came around. But I mean, it's just remarkable what happened, because I don't think anyone possibly could have predicted precisely what happened this cycle. Observation number 2. Alex and I, my wife Alex, spent most of this cycle living in Washington, D.C. There really is a bubble in Washington, D.C. I had no sense, and living in Washington, very few had any sense of what was going on in this country. Maybe you felt it. But living in that bubble in Washington, D.C., inside the Beltway, it just wasn't there. And some of the best political minds, at least they think they have the best political minds in this country, didn't see it either. So, again, just amazing. Observation number 3, just as stunning as the presidential election, was what happened in the United States Senate. If you remember the conversation back at, again, 15, 18 months ago, there's no way that Ron Johnson was going to be reelected. He was declared dead, as was Mark Kirk from Illinois, but there were lots of others. Rob Portman from Ohio, Richard Burr from North Carolina was thought to be in some trouble, Kelly Ayotte from New Hampshire, Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania. No way Pat Toomey was going to win. Roy Blunt from Missouri, even John McCain, they thought was going to have a tough race. And of course the Florida seat before Marco Rubio got in. So the odds of Republicans carrying the Senate this cycle were not high. But in the end, only Kelly Ayotte from New Hampshire and Mark Kirk from Illinois lost. Observation number 4. Donald Trump's cabinet picks have been really good. It's exciting. At Bradley, we do a lot of education work, K through 12, school choice, voucher schools. Betsy DeVos is a tremendous pick for education. She was chairman in Michigan when I was chairman here. Got to know her through that, and trust me, she will be terrific in that role as secretary. Tom Price at HHS, Jeff Sessions at Justice, Mad Dog Mattis at Defense. Don't you think he's going to be great?
Awesome.
A lot of fun. Lane Chow at Transportation. Some great picks. I'm not real sure about Governor Nikki Haley at the United Nations. I'm not sure what her background brings to that. I think that's an interesting pick. Mick Mulvaney at Budget hadn't run a whole lot of things. We'll see how that goes. And Rex Tillerson, for reasons I'll just describe, I think is a real interesting pick. And we'll just see how that plays out. There's no question that he's got great world knowledge, having run ExxonMobil for many, many years. Which leads me to observation number 5. Being president or a cabinet secretary is way different than being the CEO of a company. When you're CEO of a company, you're the king. My last employer, I worked for Honeywell for the last 6 years. CEO of Honeywell is the king of Honeywell. Donald Trump and people like Rex Tillerson are going to have adjustments to make. It's different. There are world events that happen. We have these things called checks and balances. And it's not like being a CEO. So both the president and someone like Rex Tillerson, who's very used to being in charge, are going to have to adjust a little bit. It'll be fascinating to see how that plays out. Observation number 6. Obvious. Donald Trump inherits an incredibly divided country and a troubled world. I think history will show that Barack Obama was an ineffective, detached, and very divisive president. And none of us in this room agree with his politics, but he did have a chance to do something good, to unite this country in a way that arguably it needs. He didn't do that. And again, I know from my time working on Capitol Hill and working with congressmen and senators from all over the country, even on the Democratic side, he built no relationships. He had none of those personal relationships that you just have to have in a democracy like ours to make progress. He didn't do that. And I think that's too bad, and for Donald Trump, it creates a problem. Seventh observation, and again, it flows from the last one. We really seem to be in a time where there's a profound lack of trust. Lack of trust in government institutions, lack of trust in politicians, lack of trust in employers, lack of trust in the police, communities, each other. And I think that too creates a bigger problem for Donald Trump. It's not something we can give up on, but I think it's a fact. And I think it's a fact of the lack of leadership that we have seen over the last 8 years. People become so cynical about our federal government that they've made a somewhat radical choice in Donald Trump. The man's never had government experience. And clearly he does things and has an approach to the office, or we think he will, that's much, much different than anything we've ever seen before. It's going to be fascinating. I think it has a chance to be a truly historic presidency, in a good way. I'm very upbeat and positive. It also has a chance to be tough and difficult for our party, and we're just going to have to see how this plays out. I tend to be an optimist, so I think this will work, and I think it's going to be exciting, and I think we have a unique opportunity. But there's a but. We'll see. Like anything in life, the people that we choose then have to perform. Observation number 8, I referenced it earlier. This is a deeply troubled and far more dangerous world than we were in 8 years ago, 16 years ago. You just look around the world and see what's happened as a result of Barack Obama's pulling back of American influence and impact around the world. Quick tour of the world. Europe, stagnant economy, terrible immigration problems, issues like Greece that just aren't going to go away. China, way different place. Far more aggressive leadership in China, far more interested in building power on the world stage. It's a massive economy, but with massive problems of pollution, of corruption, of a slowing economy. Middle East, you read about it every day. It's a giant mess and it's worse. Syria's a disaster. Iran's worse with this deal, which I think is a very ill-advised deal. It's opened up their pocketbooks, and you can see what their behavior has been. It's only going to get worse. And we have not ended their ability to develop nuclear weapons. And I just see problems with Iran. But the list goes on. Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. People like the Saudis, supposed to be good allies. That's a strained relationship right now. Brazil, a large economy at a virtual standstill due to corruption. India should be a great friend of ours. A very positive new leader in India, and Prime Minister Modi, but lots of problems in a big, very cumbersome democracy. And even here in the United States, we haven't addressed the big issues. Entitlement reform, debt reform, dealing with our debt issue, an education system that is no longer the best in the world. This is what's on Donald Trump's plate as he comes into office in the next few days. And it's not easy. Observation number 9, Donald Trump and lots of people from Wisconsin have an incredible opportunity. Paul Ryan, Reince Priebus, Ron Johnson. Impressive list. Wisconsin right at the top there. I do think the window of opportunity is narrow. I think there have to be results in the next year to 18 months, because then we'll be into another election season, and people are going to want to see results. So this group, under this leadership, has to find a way to cobble together the coalition that has come together, and it's a different kind of coalition. I think Reince is right. I don't think the Republican Party should give up on Hispanics. And yes, all of them have to produce some results. If we do, there could be a lasting conservative Republican coalition. Paul Ryan will do better in the House. We have a Senate map in 2 years that's just as good as the Democrats thought they had this year. Very favorable to Republicans. But look what happened to the Democrats. They had moved into their leadership offices in Washington, Chuck Schumer and the bunch, and it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. We have an incredible ability to get things done at the state level. And that really is the laboratory for democracy, the states. Incredible opportunities here in Wisconsin. We have 33 state houses around the country, 68 of 99 legislative chambers in the country, and in 33 states we control both chambers. Unique, as was pointed out, just unique opportunities. Observation number 10, the bottom line, it's you, the grassroots, that caused this massive change. As I said, they sure didn't have it figured out in Washington. But I think you all sense something here, something dramatic. And election night, I think, when Wisconsin went red, I think everyone knew that something very dramatic was happening in this country. Wisconsin, at least for me that night, flipped it, thinking, well, maybe we're going to have a good night too. Yeah, we're going to have a really good night. And it happened. And it happened. So now that we've taken care of that, now it's our job as grassroots activists to push our elected officials. Be bold. We have the opportunity to be bold. No one's blocking anyone anymore. We got to take those steps and make something happen. I think we're in for quite a ride, and it's great for Alex and me to be able to take that ride from right here back home in Wisconsin. Thanks so much.
All right.
Great to